Hey everybody, I'm very happy to be up here and have the opportunity to talk about our guy. Charlie, I'm going to keep it quick because I know how you feel about people just raining praises down upon you about how much we love you, but it's real. Also, he'd probably honestly rather have us stand up here and roast him a little bit, but I know better than to roast somebody who grew up in Bayonne, New Jersey back then, when roasting people was like a love language. Instead, let's start with a quote. To hear him tell it, he had just finished giving the elevator speech for how he planned to start the partnership. And the person he was talking to was like, Charlie, that sounds great, but how are you going to fundraise for it? And Charlie's response was like this. Just getting together. Well, I'm going to go down to City Hall. You see this hat? I'm going to ask people nicely if they got an extra buck. Now we laugh because we think this is a joke, but if you know Charlie, he probably would have liked to have gone down there and do that. And what's really true is he probably would have raised more money than a lot of nonprofits would have in their whole first quarter, just by virtue of being a pleasant, personable, funny, approachable guy. To spend time working with Charlie, you start to see the true power of being genuine and being pleasant and nice. You start seeing that message get passed on to his colleagues, to his young students, and remarkably to those same young students as they get older and become your colleagues. If ever there was a living example of the value return of investing your time and your energy and caring in other people, it would be this guy. Charlie is dedication. I knew Charlie was going to be an important mentor for me when I first met him in what we're calling the early aughts. I was a young, big, overly energetic college graduate just starting to iron out my path in teaching when I heard Charlie say the following quote in a crowd of teachers and students one summer at the Worcester Partnership. It went like this. A-tootie-ta, a-tootie-ta, a-tootie-ta. If you know, you know. But there he was, a big, overly energetic, dare I say, goofball, doing a ridiculously silly dance right along with the rising first and second graders of the Worcester Partnership. I saw that, I looked at that guy, I said, that guy gets it. The truth is, moments like that of explosive joy and humor were always balanced by any experience you had walking into Charlie's office and seeing the sheer amount of irons that he had in the fire at one time. Every centimeter of every horizontal surface in his office, and I mean every horizontal surface, were covered with neatly clipped, organized, stacked registration forms, grant applications, brochures, right? Promote. Because Charlie is driven. The man could run multiple enrichment and auxiliary programs, all of which were usually oversold and wildly popular, all while maintaining the good-humored, pleasant, engaging energy that you feel when you're around him. It's the kind of drive that inspires not only the youngsters he's working for, but all of us who've worked with him. I started working for Charlie over 20 years ago, and I've been so fortunate to learn from him. I'm not alone. The guy has made connections with seemingly every person who has set foot in the Northeast. He has a legacy built across generations of adoring students and colleagues, and I'm honored to have been able to have worked, learned, and wisecracked with him. Thank you all. Thank you, Charlie. Let's go get a bar pie and a dime sometime.
Thank you all for having me. Stephanie, thank you for allowing me this chance to speak. Mr. A, thank you for everything. So, as Stephanie said, I started in the partnership as a first grader, a rising first grader. So I just finished kindergarten at Elm Park, and my family has always been about education. My grandmother's in the back of the room. She was an early education specialist for my whole life, and so the value of education was always seen in my family. And so here comes this wonderful guy telling about this educational program in the summer, but guess what? The most important thing about the program is, anybody know? Fun. Fun. F-U-N. Fun. Every time you talk about the partnership, you need to have those 3 little letters included because it was always fun. It was education and fun. It was getting us Elm Park kids to a school that had a playground, had swing sets. We did not have that. We just had a big field that you could run around in. And so that was really, coming to Bancroft was the first time of being around an educational space, an institution, and like, no, I'm coming to Bancroft to have fun. We don't call it summer school. Sometimes the kids don't even call it the Worcester Partnership anymore. They just call it Bancroft. I'm coming to Bancroft. I'm going to see Mr. A. If you notice, I'm referring to him as Mr. A because that is how I met him. That is who he will always be to me. There is a level of respect that I have for you, Mr. A, that like you will just always be on this pedestal. And not because you put yourself up there. Quite frankly, he likes to be the person in the back of the room. If I think back on the in and outs of the days at the partnership, it's not Mr. A being the one telling and regaling stories. No, it's him cultivating a community. It's him finding mentors for you. It's him finding adults that live for educating students and helping them become their best selves. Every one of the part of the mission and values of Bancroft has been enacted into life through the partnership, and I am so grateful. Now, to get more personal, you do not get the Shanez that you see up here today without Mr. A, without the partnership, without all of the people that he brought into my life, right? He had us on stages every week doing an assembly, all school. Oh, I'm starting to get worked up, but we were literally up there. And everybody had their moment. Everybody got to be on the microphone. It was not always the loudest student in the room, which was quite often me, right? It was teaching the me's how to make space for the Mariahs, for the ones that were a little more quiet. It was starting a bug club to be able to even do that. It was everything. It was being thoughtful about making sure that students are coming in. We're gonna feed them breakfast because we get them so early. We are going to give them healthy snacks. How many of your students, your grandchildren, children like eating fruit all the time? Yeah, no hands are in the air. Okay, how many of our partnership kids love eating fruit? That is the only thing we give them for snack, and they look forward to it to the point of not, and Justin can say it, Justin cuts snacks for us every week. We have created a community. We were supposed to leave after 6th grade. The partnership in its beginning, in its founding, was to go from the summer after kindergarten up until the summer before you go into 7th grade, and we did not leave. We kept showing up. The partnership is a family program. I got my little cousins in the back because once you're a part of the program, your family is in the program. You are part of the program forever. So we weren't leaving, and Charlie Mr. A wasn't gonna have us just sitting there doing nothing, and so he created a volunteer opportunity. And so now, well, first, actually, before the volunteer opportunity, he created more classes for us. So we're now in classes until 9th grade, and then once 10th grade comes, you get to be a volunteer. And let me tell you about opportunity. Yes, let's cheer for that. Like, let me tell you about the opportunity. You are learning leadership skills. You are working with the students that you once were, and so there's that connection there. You are getting, again, volunteer hours. Yeah! And so when we were applying to college, because now college was brought into our purview through the Worcester Partnership, through the Bancroft High School volunteers, when they would talk about what they were doing next. And so now it's just expanded this world. I was able to graduate with almost 400 community service hours just from going to the partnership every summer, and it never felt like work. On another personal standpoint, again, how you don't end up with Shanez without Mr. A and the partnership. Mr. A called up my mom in my 8th grade year and said, hey, come see me at the school. That was it. No context, no information, just a call to come see him. And we showed up. Because if Mr. A calls, you're going to answer. And I know that rings true for anybody in this room. Mr. A can call and we are going to answer. And so we get there, and this is back when he is in the McDonough building, in that office space, sitting at the front desk. We get there, and he slides us this packet and says, here you go. This is the Worcester City Scholarship. It is offered as a full 4-year scholarship for students in Worcester. You should apply for this. And so Mr. A said it, and so we did it. And I ended up getting the scholarship. But again, Mr. A's impact, somebody that was on the committee happened to be the late Coach Mark O'Brien, okay? And he met me through the partnership. And so he had a connection with me and knew me through that and was able to advocate for me in that space. So my name was being brought into spaces that I didn't even know existed, right? And again, it leads back to this man sitting at the front of the room here today. He has changed lives. I'll get up here and boast about it. The impact has changed lives. If you look at all of the partnership students that went on to college, that keep coming back, I keep looking at Mariah over there, because we came up with this program together. This program raised me, it taught me values, it gave me friendships, memories that will last a lifetime. It gave me my educator's philosophy. I look back to the Worcester Partnership, to Mr. A, and I'm just so grateful to be able to have met you. I think I'm rambling on right now, which is what happens when you don't have a script and speak from the heart. So I will last say...
I need a shake.
Mr. A's grandchildren are over here, right? And I've adopted myself into your family because every time I think about Mr. A, he is like another grandfather to me. Like, this is, like, it's just love. So much love in my heart and just thankfulness for you and for all that you do, not only for me, but for every single child. And I know I'm speaking from a student standpoint, but I had the opportunity to see Mr. A as a student, as a colleague, as his assistant director of the program, and at every level, that thoughtfulness, it always goes back to where the partnership started, with 12 kids from Elm Park School and one man that wanted to make a difference and saw that we had the space to. And that's all it takes. Look at the legacy of Mr. A. So, thank you.
Celebrated Charlie's retirement. In true Charlie A fashion, he was not yet done. He had planned on finishing his service to the partnership at the end of the 24 summer program. But as we searched for a successor, Charlie stayed with us for the fall months as he took care of business. As a quick aside, our next director, Lupe Lumelli, was here earlier today. She's going to be incredible. Charlie first stepped on campus in the late 1960s, serving Bancroft for over 54 years. We could say goodbye to Charlie with a massive amount of numbers. Days on campus, students taught, students coached, students enrolled, money raised, programs led, coaches coached, employees mentored. He has had the following titles, and it's probably not complete. Dean of Students, Admission Director, Special Program Director, Alumni Director, Director of Worcester Partnership Program, Assistant Basketball Coach, Head Basketball Coach, Head Soccer Coach, Head Track Coach. But I think we should distill it down to what we know are Charlie's greatest gifts: relationships and impact. At one point last year, I was on a Zoom call with an alum. I don't at this moment remember who it was. Charlie will remember. And he's laughing because he does. The alum and I were chatting, and he told me about the impact Charlie had on him and asked if Charlie was still working. I said, yep, he's just down the hall. Let me see if I can find him. And off I scampered. And Charlie was indeed working that day and free to come to my office. And we returned, and he took my chair and joined the Zoom call while I sat in the background on the other side of the room. For 5 minutes, Charlie told stories of working with this former student athlete. He remembered everything, not just the big games and important moments. He remembered nuance and character, and he demonstrated over and over again that he knew his former charge very well and that there was no way he would ever forget him. We talk about our students finding trusted adults, teachers, coaches, and advisors who have a profound impact on young folks. This sounds very simple, but it's not. Charlie makes it look easy. He cares deeply, he challenges, and he remembers. There's no better gift. Charlie will be forever Bancroft, and we have the deepest gratitude for all he has done for the school and with the the partnership. I said that Charlie is all about relationships and impact. Today we have two gifts for Charlie, and they are related to those two things. After a short 18 months at Bancroft, even I cannot see Charlie not being here. I distinctly remember a long conversation with him in the Harrington Theater lobby during my finalist visit. Charlie was a presence. While he will no longer be here, this is his second home. Today, to get this right, we are presenting Charlie with Charlie A's golden ticket.
Yeah!
The golden ticket is good for free admission plus a guest to anything at Bancroft, whenever, anytime, and any lunch you want, and morning snack, which will be fruit for you. Ready? It's hard to move on, I know that. Anytime you want to be here, every reunion, every event, come back, okay? We have a smaller version of this too.
I had a contract. We got one-year contracts all the way through, so I had 54 one-year contracts. Seniority, tenure, no such thing. I was hired as a math teacher and an assistant to a returning woodworking teacher who had health issues the year before. Well, in Jersey, we didn't have any grass, we didn't have any trees, lots of cement, and now I had to go deal with wood. Anyway, another interesting fact, when I was doing a little bit of research on what to say or not say, I looked up, I knew how many years I had been here, with a little discussion with my family. But anyway, I had a number. And the same year that I was hired, there was a lady by the name of Jewel Holden, who also started in 1967. The following year, in 1968, was another lady who most of you would all know, Pat Condon. So if you take my years of loving to be here, along with Jewel and Pat Condon, we served this community for over 120 years of attendance, day in and day out. And we all, I shouldn't say all, I knew them pretty well. And basically, I think we all felt like I didn't mind getting up. You know, I'd get my clothes out the night before, ready to get to work and get here at school. Many times, we were like the first people here. And it was because I wanted to be here. It's the same with the so-called retirement bit. What do you do? When do you come? What kind of things? What does it say on the slip these days in terms of what I was supposed to do? I could go through here, you know, decade by decade, and I've done it just preparing a couple of thoughts. And it really is a lot of fun if you have a crazy mind like mine. And I think of some of the issues, not issues, some of the concerns we might have had, but all of the fun we had in terms of being here. There are this present group of trustees, I think I taught about 60% of them at some point in time here at Bancroft School. There are two people in this room who basically started the Mr. A bit. They were sixth graders of mine at Shepherd Knapp. And after about 3 or 4 days of school, this person comes up and says, "Hey, everybody else gives extra point questions, and you don't do that." I said, "Well, geez, I'm new at this. You know, I just got out of college. This was 1960s. No, it was 1965, 66 that I'm talking about." And so I said, "Okay, no problem, go sit down." Take out your piece of paper and spell my last name. That's when I became Mr. Ray. And it took. There was another nickname I had, Joe, but I'm not gonna tell him. I coached and taught here for lots of years, and again, the same thing. The stories in my head are probably good thoughts about you. I could go in a silly way through almost every person in this room and give you some ideas about what you did or didn't do, or what you did.
A later show.
But it's up here. It's up here. If I leave you with anything, and you're in some kind of position of authority, have the people work with you, not for you. I don't know where I learned that piece of it, but it works better than the other. I had a dad who took me aside. My dad was a factory worker, and he said, hey, I got my first job in a mayonnaise factory, and he says, here's what you do. You find out what your job is, what you're supposed to be doing in the department you're in, but pay attention to the people around you, because they're going to affect what you're doing and vice versa. So he said you could do it one way or another. And I just decided if I learned about you and you learned about me and it was all the good part, we'd get along. I've worn a lot of hats here, and I thank you all for that opportunity. I think I would have gotten bored sitting around doing the same thing over and over. But I've had a great time. I've had a lot of fun. And it's like I have all these people that I want to thank, like Stephanie, the Board of Trustees that are here, faculty and staff that are here, friends, family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I usually will leave somebody out. But so for 25 years or so, we dealt with that series of names, and then the Worcester Partnership comes along, and I blame Scott Reisinger for that, because he took me to see this program in Connecticut called Horizons that had been developed in the 60s. And on the way back, he said, what do you think? I said, that looks pretty good, blah, blah, blah. He says, well, what do you want to do? At that point, I was director of operations at Bancroft School. So I sat and thought, and we started this thing called the Worcester Partnership. It's an academic enrichment program to support what's going on in the Worcester Public Schools. The principal of Elm Park at the time, Ruth Ann Melanson, is here in the back, and she's another culprit in this whole scheme of things. The model we have and have used, 12 to 14 kids in a class, a couple of teachers, and now volunteers who are technically graduates of the Worcester Partnership. It's a neat place to be. It's a community, sort of a subset of the Bancroft community, where everybody has an idea about the other people, they care about them. They see somebody that needs some help, it just automatically happens. You don't even have to ask. So we're in that situation. I'm in a situation where if I keep talking, I'm looking at other people whose names I didn't mention. I think of John Duggan in the very first basketball game at the gym. It's also Charlie A. basketball weekend, whatever that is.
Because you do not have a basketball team here for the boys without Charlie.
But John Duggan played in that very first victory. I can tell you how many points and how many rebounds he got. But I'm having fun just looking over the group here. And I think of the Amarillo family. Chris is here, but Chris had one of the greatest mothers in the world. And I remember that only because of any contact that I had with her related to a parent coming to games or bringing snacks and so on. Times have changed. Things have changed, like the gym, the tan gym, the blue gym, the new gym, the old gym. Used to be the faculty and staff parking lot. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you've allowed me to do here at Bancroft School. Most of it is above board. And I probably fooled a lot of you, but seriously, it's a great place to work. It's a great spot to educate your children. And I look forward to seeing you many, many more years down the road. And I'm going to have a free ticket to come in. But thank you for coming. Have a great rest of the day. And I wish I could buy you all a drink.